If you've watched the Israel Guys for any length of time, you know that we have 5 regular hosts that you see and hear from on the channel every single week. What you may not know is that 4 out of these 5 hosts are brothers. Myself, Ben, Josiah, and Justin. We're Hiltons.
Along with Joshua Waller and a few dedicated team members, we've hosted, written, produced, filmed, edited, marketed, advertised, and grown the Israel Guys from a tiny channel with less than 10,000 subscribers to a platform that today has nearly 300,000 followers. And in the last year alone has received more than 10 million views.
The Israel Guys channel has today become a powerful network overcoming the anti-Israel narrative that is now sweeping the globe. Every day, we're fighting anti-Israel propaganda and fake news, and instead connecting you directly to the land and people of Israel.
Today, we want to tell you about someone very special. Our mother, Kathryn Lynne Hilton, who was an integral part of Hayuvel and the Israel Guides for the last 15 years, passed away from a short battle with cancer on December 7th, 2023.
Without her, the Israel Guys would not be here, and none of her children would be here working in the land of Israel.
When I was 16 years old, Mom came to me and suggested that we go to Israel for 3 weeks. Although she would probably tell you the story a bit differently, because I've always had a hard time showing outward emotion, I was incredibly excited to go on an adventure to the Holy Land. That trip and subsequent trips to Israel after that were life-changing for me and my mom. Being Christians for most of our lives growing up, our family coming to Israel made the Bible and our faith come alive. It's as if we went from a linear journey to a faith that we are now living out in 3D. In the ensuing years, most of our family began coming to Israel as often as we could. Even though Dad still had a full-time job in America, he would come to Israel as often as he could take time off for, and Mom and most of the rest of us children would come at least once per year. You could say we were hooked. Mom, even more so than all of us.
Over the years, Mom became one of the most passionate and zealous Israel advocates you would ever meet. Everyone she came in contact with would hear about her love for Israel. She would share with everyone she met about God's heart for Israel, and she encouraged her family to walk in that same path.
After Dad retired and came to work full-time with Hayuvel, he and Mom took on the role of enrollment and application processing for our volunteer programs in Israel.
He and Mom have personally interviewed several thousand volunteers from more than 30 countries around the world who signed up to come to Israel with Hayuvel's programs.
If you're one of those volunteers who connected with Mom via Zoom or email or a phone call, we'd love to hear your story in the comment section below.
Mom did such a wonderful job preparing volunteers for their trip that when they stepped off the bus here in Israel, most would report how they already felt at home due to knowing Mom ahead of time.
Over the years, Mom forged hundreds, if not thousands, of relationships with those who came to Israel through our programs, and she continued to keep up with those people even after they went home.
Being on staff here in Israel for the last 15 years, I don't go to a lot of the biblical or tourist sites on a regular basis anymore. After seeing Shiloh or Bethel 20 to 30 times, I guess I just figured I didn't need to keep going all the time. Not Mom. Every time we took a volunteer group to a site in Judea and Samaria, Mom would make every effort to join the group.
She went out working with the volunteers in the vineyard every chance she got, and if there was ever a chance of hearing someone speak in the evenings or meeting a Jewish family in their home, Mom would be there on the front row, listening and taking notes.
No matter how many times Mom heard a teaching about Israel, she would always be near the front, taking notes in her amazingly neat, scrawled handwriting, insisting that she always learned something new or that it gave her fresh zeal for God's kingdom being restored in Israel.
I'm also fairly certain that her taking notes on the front row was a big motivator for my father-in-law, Tommy Waller, to continue teaching about Israel day after day. He knew my mom was listening intently.
As her children grew and became active in their own ways and working in Israel, Mom always encouraged us to pursue our dreams while following God and defending Israel. She was always excited when we went on speaking tours all over the world to talk about Israel.
She always encouraged us when we were making videos, either for the Joshua and Caleb report, if you remember that, you're a longtime viewer of the channel, a documentary,
or just the Israel Guys weekly videos.
She was the adventurous type, so far from being worried when we went undercover into Palestinian villages for film projects, she was excited.
If it had been possible, I'm confident Mom would have gone with us into those Arab villages. As the Israel Guys grew over the years, she always watched our shows and videos and proudly shared our work with everyone she met.
When Mom suddenly became sick in the summer of 2023, the most difficult part of her illness was that she was no longer able to interact with our volunteer groups, go to events, listen to speakers, or go out to the field or on tours. She was always a person who didn't like to inconvenience others, so she was uncomfortable being in a position where she suddenly needed help when she was sick.
When the war broke out on October 7th, Mom was actually relieved that her friends and family's attention was taken off of her and her illness.
During the many weeks and months that she was forced to stay in the hospital, she felt she was standing in solidarity with the IDF soldiers and hostages who were brought to the same facility where she was receiving treatment.
She suffered along with the nation of Israel during October and November, following closely the news of every death, the suffering of the hostages, and was even in the same hospital where they brought the first released hostages on November 24th.
I remember whenever I would stay with her in the hospital that she would ask for news, and she would cry whenever an IDF soldier was killed, and she would rejoice whenever a hostage was released.
Mom was one of the strongest people we knew, but after a hard-fought battle with cancer, she went to be with the Lord on December 7th, 2023. May her memory forever be a blessing.
Mom's passion and zeal for the restoration of God's kingdom back to Israel will never be forgotten.
Her legacy will be forever carried on through her husband, 8 children, 22 grandchildren, and the thousands of people she touched during her lifetime, especially those she interacted with during their travels to the Holy Land.
She was an inspiration and encouragement to many, a fierce defender of Zion, and a passionate daughter of God.
Without Mom, there would be no channel called the Israel Guys, and Hayuvel would not be in the place we are today.
Over the last 15 years, Mom personally interviewed more than 1,000 Christians during their enrollment to a volunteer program with Hayuvel.
When they arrived, she was already their friend, and nothing excited her more than to see volunteers get it as they experienced Israel.
In memory of our mother, Kathryn Lynne Hilton, Hayuvel and the Israel Guys are excited to announce the Hilton Memorial Fund, a scholarship program dedicated to bringing believers to the land of Israel every year.
This fund will be used to bring young people to Israel on Hayuvel's volunteer programs, ensuring that the next generation will be educated and excited to stand unequivocally with Israel in the coming years.
If you'd like to contribute to the Hilton Memorial Fund, you can visit serveisrael.com/Hilton or click the link down below. 100% of the funds raised will go directly towards sponsoring Christians to come to Israel through our volunteer programs.
We know that our mother impacted thousands of people during her lifetime, whether through her work in Israel or otherwise.
She was a dedicated wife, mother, and grandmother, and her zeal for God's kingdom knew no bounds.
Here at Hayuvel and the Israel Guys, we are determined that her memory will be for a blessing, and that her legacy will continue for generations to come.